Hey, Richest, you money maniacs, back at you. In this episode, we're going to talk about how the super rich invest. Let's get right to it. All right, so in this video, I want to talk about how the super rich invest. But first, I have to address something that seems to keep coming up on YouTube pretty often. And I think it's either A, clickbait, or B, really bad programming that people seem to believe is true anyway. And the notion that I'd like to dispel right out of the gate is the idea that billionaires have to bother hiding their money at all. Okay, so let's just dispel that idea completely. Take that completely out of your vocabulary altogether. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're a billionaire, you know how to take advantage of tax incentives that the government wants people to take advantage of. See, it's the difference between being an educated investor and just guessing, all right? Or a real business owner and understanding your industry or just guessing. Or pretending that you really understand how money works versus actually knowing how money works. So the idea there is that there's no need for a billionaire to hide anything. They don't have to hide anything. The government offers them opportunities to make money in ways that also allows them to not be taxed on it. And my favorite example of that of all time always is Robert Kiyosaki, because of he's such an incredible individual, incredible businessman. And oh, by the way, he's worth billions and he pays zero taxes legally. That's the beautiful thing. It's all legal. It's all there in the tax code. In fact, listen to his accountant, Tom Wheelwright, who shares on his Wealth Ability show how to create wealth and be tax-free, just like Robert Kiyosaki. In fact, he trains accountants on a very regular basis and certifies them under his own program. So if you really want to learn more about details on how to do that in terms of living or building wealth tax-free, talk to Tom Wheelwright. He helps Robert Kiyosaki make billions of dollars completely tax-free, right? So there's a set of rules that the government sets up. And the reason that they do that, and that's why they're called incentives, by the way, is because they are incentivizing programs or objectives that the government has. For instance, like moving away from fossil fuels. And so anybody who gets into things like renewable resources or even like natural gas just to replace oil often experiences deep tax cuts or incentives. They'll let you make all kinds of money in that field or invest all kinds of money and make profit off of it and not be taxed on it. I mean, come on, think about it for a second. If you're a business owner and you go into a city and you invest $10, $50 million in building a new mall, how many jobs are you creating? How much sales tax revenue are you creating year over year? How many how much of an income tax base are you generating year over year? Because you created all of these jobs and all this employment and all this opportunity. And oh, by the way, it's a tourist attraction too. You put some kind of theme park or something in the mall. And so people come from all over the country to come to this mall. Now this town has revenue in sales for gas and hotels and for general shopping. Oh, and now people want to move to this city to be close to this mall or be close to this theme park and just be within driving distance. And so the county starts to flourish because of it. And now there's more money. So you can see how the government would be motivated to give tax incentives to super wealthy people to help bring more of a tax base to their location, to their locale, to their city, to their community. Because if they have more tax money coming in, they can offer more services, right? So think about that. There is no need for billionaires to hide their money. Unless, of course, you're talking about not sharing online every single penny you make, which seems to be a very popular theme nowadays. In fact, it seems like if you don't share exactly how much money you make and where you make it and exactly what you buy and how much you spend for it online all the time so that everybody can judge you, then you must be hiding something. You must be somebody we should keep our eyes on. You might be suspicious. Isn't that very weird? Does that not seem weird to anybody? I mean, it seems weird to me. It just kind of creeps me out that people feel like they have the right to know or should know what I make or what anybody makes for that matter. You know what? It's none of my business how much money you make. In fact, I don't want that responsibility. And there's exactly why billionaires may not share quite so openly exactly how much they make or exactly where it comes from. Here's why. Because the world is full of professionals who devote their lives to finding ways to take money from you. They do it to the super rich, they do it to the middle class, they do it to poor people, they do it to old people. They call you on the phone and pretend to be the IRS. They send you an email and you click on it and submit your personal information thinking that you're on a bank website. I mean, come on, we all know about these scams. Yet for some reason on YouTube lately, people are really just feeling like, no, I have to share to prove. I have to share exactly how much money I've made in all my different businesses and exactly what those numbers are, or people won't believe me. Now think about that for a second. I know this video is to be about how the super rich invest, and I promise that it will. So I'll be very brief. But this is important. Everybody is on social media right now sharing their favorite color, their favorite dessert, their children's names, their address, where they take their kids to school, what playgrounds they go to, what nanny they go to, what child daycare they go to, what their favorite food is, what their favorite restaurant is, what movies they liked, what their favorite book is. Oh, and now you're sharing also exactly how much money went into your bank account month over month. It doesn't have to be exact. Round it up. Or round it down, or just give an average or give an estimate. You don't need to give that detailed information away because you're giving that money away and that access to all of your private accounts to people who are very, very good at looking up the other little pieces that they need to hack into your personal finance accounts. Okay, so that's it for that soapbox. I'm done. I'm done preaching on that. All right, so now let's talk about where the super wealthy actually do put their money. This is the best part. See, it's one thing to focus on all the things you shouldn't do, but you got to make sure you start to change your focus from what you shouldn't do to where you should put your focus. The first thing I would like to mention that they put their money into are new businesses. They start new business opportunities. And trust me, after a while, even you, once you've done this a few times, will become really, really good at starting a new business and making it self-winding. That's the secret, is to make a business self-winding so that you start it up and then you let it run. You set it up so that everybody's motivated in that business to keep business growing because they make more money the more the business grows. And you walk away and you come back a year later and it's bigger than ever before. See, now that's a true business owner. And I'm stealing that right from Robert Kiyosaki. Robert, love you, man. Thank you so much. Great information. That's a true business owner, something that you start up and it just runs itself and makes you money. That's where super wealthy people put their money into. Now, there's another important reason why they do it in those kinds of businesses, because that's a stream of revenue. It's important to have money flowing all the time. You don't want to get a big lump sum of money and then just sit on it, because for all kinds of different reasons, it's going to lose its value. Also, it's not going to grow. You need streams of revenue coming at you all the time. That's why it's called currency. It needs to continue to move, but that's a whole nother point. So that's one of the reasons that business starting and business purchasing or business merging is so vital to a super wealthy individual. So the next thing that super wealthy people put their money into, commodities. Now, especially right now, gold and silver especially. Now, a lot of governments are buying gold, which means that the silver supply is going down and the price of silver is going up. And guess what? Silver has a higher demand than gold. Gold is generally for keeping or supporting a currency or for jewelry, right? That's about it. But silver, on the other hand, is a precious metal that industries use. It's needed on a very regular basis, and there will always be a need for that supply. And so while governments are spending their money on gold, the supply for silver has gone down, which means the price is going to go up. But here's the best part. Remember, we talked about when you buy stocks, you want to buy volume so that every time it moves up a little bit, you make more money by volume. Guess what? With silver being so much cheaper, I think that gold is like $1,800 or $1,500 an ounce right now. Silver is only around $18 per ounce. So you can buy a whole bunch of silver, and guess what? It'll go up $1 or $2 in a couple months just because the supply is still going down. That's way better performance than the dollar, because guess what? Silver will always retain its value. And as the dollar goes down, its price will definitely go up. And if you ever need to be able to exchange it, you'll have silver ounces that you can exchange in currency. Even if the dollar collapsed tomorrow, guess what people would be using to buy stuff with? Silver dollars, silver and gold. You can be sure that's what would come out as currency, because human beings intrinsically give value to precious metals. So the third thing that I'd like to talk about that super wealthy people use to protect their value, to invest their money, are jewels, precious jewels, right? So also jewelry. If it's a really beautiful piece, that's an investment that could actually increase in value. Some people even use watches. Some watches are $50,000 to buy them, and then they're worth $150,000 10 years later. So it's an investment. You know, another thing that actually wealthy people do to invest, they'll invest in things like vintage instruments. How trippy is that? I mean, we're talking about jewels and jewelry and diamonds or rubies and things like that. Let's talk about things that appreciate. That actually leads nicely to the next item, which kind of is lumped in with gems and jewelry, and that's art. So those guitars, those vintage guitars, or paintings, or statues, or a famous vase from China. So these works of art are the perfect instruments for transferring wealth from one generation to the next without having to pay tax, because you're not buying or selling anything. See, that's the thing. If you're doing business without actually using any currency, you don't pay taxes because there's no money being moved to do it. You know, that's what a lot of large corporations do. They actually barter. I'll give you 2 big ships full of these cars if you give me 2 big ships full of your product. And then we just don't say that there was a sale. I agree that that's worth these cars, and you agree that these cars are worth this many of your products, so we're done, right? Okay, no taxes because we never exchanged any money. That goes on every single day. So when you're thinking about transferring wealth to your kids or your grandkids or your great-grandkids, art, vintage guitars, statues, vases, those things are incredibly effective at transferring wealth from generation to generation. Now, jewelry and precious stones are also a really great way to do it too, because you're not making a sale. Now, of course, with precious stones or even artwork, once to liquidate that, to be able to have access to turning it into liquid cash, you obviously have to go through a little more of hoops to be able to make that happen. But it's going to be worth it because obviously, the older it is, the more money it's worth. All right, the next piece that super wealthy people invest in, real estate. In fact, multi-units and large plots are extremely popular. There's some folks that actually invest a lot of money and time in single-family homes for all kinds of different reasons and all kinds of different parameters. However, think about this for a second. If you're super wealthy and you hire management companies to hire properties for you, then having them run everything is just simply another business that you've bought into, right? Or if you buy a large plot of land and say you buy, well, for instance, Robert Kiyosaki, he gave a great example of a way that he bought a piece of property for free. Billionaire bought property for free, 80 acres. He found 80 acres in the middle of, I think it was New Mexico or Arizona, and he took 30 of that and built a little house on it and kind of made it kind of nice with a driveway, about $25,000 in improvements, and sold that 30 acres with that little bit of improvement for $210,000. The property, 80 acres, was selling for $110,000. He actually went to the owners and said, listen, I'll buy this property to you. I've you've been trying to sell it for 10 years, right? For 110,000. And so I'm going to pay you full price, but I'm not going to pay you till next year, but you got to give me the note now. So they're like, yeah, we'll do it. Absolutely. We already waited 10 years. One more is nothing. And we're happy to get the 110. You can have it. So he took that note, subdivided the 30 acres, sold that for 210,000 with a small shack on it that was nice with a driveway, right? 30 acres, kept the other 50 acres for himself to have his own ranch, and walked away with a $100,000 profit after he was done. Well, minus the $25,000, which would be the improvement. So he walked away with a $75,000 profit plus 50 acres of land that he doesn't have to pay tax on. Did you know in certain states, if you buy more than 10 acres, real estate tax no longer applies, because if you don't develop all of it, it's considered a wildlife preserve. You're preserving nature so they won't tax you. So if you buy a big enough swath of it and you only develop small parts, but you keep the larger part just natural, guess what? You don't have to pay real estate taxes. So he literally made $75,000 and got 50 acres with no tax base to it, just because he was smart enough to put that deal together. Think about that. That's the difference between how you normally think and how super wealthy people like Robert Kiyosaki think. They think in those terms. How can I make this deal so that I don't have to use any of my money, I don't have to pay anything, and I don't have to pay any taxes? Think about that. There's always a way. That's the difference. That's where super wealthy people are putting their money in real estate. So the last place I want to mention that super wealthy people put their money into is my favorite topic, the laser fund, or the rich man's fund. It's a tax-advantaged insurance contracts that are indexed against the market. That means they're not in the market, they're just indexed against it, which means when the market goes up, you make money on your principal, and when the market goes down, you make zero. You never go below zero. Zero is the hero, as Doug Andrew would say. Thank you, Doug. So the idea here with the laser fund is that it's an insurance piece. It's a life insurance piece that you use while you're alive. Maximum funded, minimum death benefit. The idea also to emphasize here is that this is one of the oldest codes in the IRS code that legally allows you to protect the value of your money, to be able to not just protect it, but grow it. Now, see, remember I mentioned earlier in the video that everybody seems really content with the idea of growing their money at 4%. That's not near enough growth to cover all of the taxes that are coming and to cover the dollar being disseminated by bad policy. Okay, so really what you need is something like the laser fund that averages 8 to 10% per year. That's without the multipliers. You can actually pay a fee each year and have a multiplier that multiplies 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. So if you made 8% in one year and multiplied it by 4 times that one particular year because there was a crash the year before and you knew it was going up the next year, you'd make 32% on every dollar you invested into that. Now, how is that possible? Because it's in the tax code that you can buy life insurance. And then in the life insurance, you can actually structure it to put in the maximum payments. You're literally insuring yourself. And with a minimum death benefit, and because you're insuring yourself, by law, you're allowed to use that as collateral to borrow against. So instead of actually taking out a loan from your IRA or your Roth or your 401k, you're taking a loan against the principal inside your insurance in your laser fund. That means the principal stays there and keeps earning you the percentage every year because it's not going down. But you took out a loan. Well, you got to pay that loan back. What's the interest on the loan? Well, the interest on the loan is typically 3 or 4%, but your principal is earning 8 to 10% per year. Oh, so that means it's actually way more than what you would have to pay on your loan. Yes, or even better though is in a laser fund, you don't have to pay that loan back. Well, why not? That's crazy. You take out a loan, you got to pay the loan back. No, because it's your money. In fact, if you wanted to, you could never pay that back. And when you die, your death benefit would cover the money that you took out as a loan. Yes, that's true. Go look it up. liveabundant.com. The laser fund has to be my most favorite tool, most favorite instrument at this point in my life that I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of different ways to invest money and to build businesses. I've been through a lot of different business structures and models. I've had a lot of experience with this stuff. I did premium financing for super wealthy people who had never heard of a laser fund. Thank you to Doug Andrew and his family. Thank you to liveabundant.com. If you get a chance, go there and look it up. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. In fact, the link is down in the description. So, once again, really quickly, the things that the super wealthy invest in. Number one, businesses. They create them. Streams of revenue. Number two, gold and silver, precious metals. Number three, precious gems, right? Jewelry. And actually number four as well, art. Number five, real estate. Multi-unit or large plots. Some people have a lot of success with single family. That's up to them. It depends on what they're comfortable with. But something to do with real estate, and it's never the way you think it is. And number six, my favorite of all, the laser fund. So I hope this really helps in terms of understanding where the super wealthy really put their money. They're not hiding it. They don't need to hide it because the law gives them the incentive to do certain things with their money and get it tax-free, including the laser fund, including doing large pieces of property that actually help preserve nature, including drilling for natural gas, including building solar energy plants. I mean, think about this. It's all right there in the tax code. I think Tom Wheelwright said there's like 30 pages in the IRS tax code that actually talk about that you have to pay tax and who has to pay how much. And the other thousands and thousands of pages are different incentives designed specifically to get you to do things to help the government meet goals and projects that they would like to have completed. I mean, it just is really about becoming a more educated investor. And that's actually why I'm so passionate about the Richest You and about sharing this information with you guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it really helped. Remember, they're not hiding their money. It's all there. It's all there for the government to see. And if you have permission, then they'll show it to you too. And they'll explain it to you. It's all legal. It's all above board. It doesn't need to be hidden. They don't need to do that. The law is written to allow them to live tax-free if they do it right. And when you're super wealthy, guess what? You can pay for the best minds to be able to structure it so that you do live tax-free and that you do get the benefit of real compounding interest. So, please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. We'd love to be able to let you know that every time we put up a new video. And more than anything, I really hope that you take this information and go find out for yourself. Try it out for yourself and prove to yourself that this stuff actually is true and works. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks from the Richest You. And if you are interested in learning more about money and how it actually works and maybe even more about what I'm talking about in this video, definitely try out our course, The Richest You Mastering Money. The link is down below in the description. We love you guys all you crazy Richest You money maniacs. Talk to you soon.